In the battle for the boardroom of the Walt Disney Company, Nelson Peltz has issued a 130-page white paper detailing his thoughts on how the company could be run better. And now ValueAct has come in with a 19-page light slide deck to assure us all that the company is doing just fine. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, this is Jonas J. Campbell. I'm an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and today I am here with Vash Sky. Vash, have you got your ValueAct together?
I think so. I don't know. ValueAct has to tell me, actually. They have to send me over the slides. And then we'll know for sure if I have my ValueAct.
That's very true. Well, let's talk about the article here from Deadline. Disney's stock has risen more than 20% in 2024. With a proxy fight brewing, ValueAct Capital reaffirmed support of Bob Iger ahead of the April 3rd shareholder meeting. This by Dade Hayes from Deadline. Vash, if you were to just read this and not know what's going on, what would you think was going on here with this first statement here before the semicolon?
Well, I would think that Disney's stock is doing all kinds of good right here, and that they're really raising in order to raise is being raised in order to fight this proxy battle right here that Nelson Peltz has waged against them. That the company's doing just fine. Vote white, all good.
Yep, that's right. You would assume that in a case like this, it must not be the proxy fight that is raising this up. It must not be that when Nelson Peltz announced that he was engaging in a proxy fight that all of a sudden the stock started to rise, perhaps on the speculation here. Of course, no financial advice. Perhaps on the speculation here that the stock would rise in value. Now, of course, there has been rise in the stock price at the Walt Disney Company. A lot of that is probably attributable to the fact that when it was at around $80 per share, Nelson Peltz announced that he was engaging in a proxy fight. The last time that he did that, it went from 80 to around 120, and then when he exited, it slowly fizzled back down. And maybe people are assuming that's what's going to happen again. There have, of course, been some moments where the stock price has moved immediately after announcements by Bob Iger. So I don't want to say it's entirely Nelson Peltz here, but I think a lot of that activity is not just because of Peltz, but in reaction to Peltz on the company's part. They have done some things to make it look like they are improving this company. But that white paper, that 130-page white paper, has a lot of excellent, dense data there to go through. Now, of course, what we want to talk about is Mason Morfitt and his white paper. Let's see, do they have it linked here? They at least are pointing out that Nelson Peltz's is 130 pages. Let's go over here. I happen to have the white paper. It was filed with the SEC. And when I first saw this, I might have assumed this was a draft one that was accidentally filed because it's only 19 pages. And as you can see, there's a lot of information here. Here's one page. ValueAct Capital, ValueAct's take on Disney for March of 2024. This disclaimer right here is the most information-dense slide in the entire slide deck. Who is ValueAct? We're at 3. At number 4, it's a list of companies that they have served on the board of. Okay, great. Number 5, we collect lessons learned in a toolkit. Oh, that's great. We've learned from different companies. The learn-it-all is always better than the know-it-all, says Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO. That's great. I'm assuming there must be some talking that goes on when they present these slides. Oh, they've also worked in. Here's another list of companies in more different segments. Oh, great. 21st Century Fox. I suspect this is where they have their shares in the Disney company. They probably came from the Fox acquisition. Gotcha. All right. We're at 7 here, so we are at about 35% of the way. Oh, here we go. Here's their investment thesis. Number 1, lean into parks. Okay. Number 2, move beyond the streaming wars. In what way would you say doing that? Okay. Bigger bundles. Duh. Better consumer experiences. That's a great idea. They ought to have better consumer experiences. Vash. Can you go call Bob Iger and tell him they need to have better consumer experiences? I think company's saved.
I got
better advertising technology. Okay. I think you're onto something here. Work with other studios to test new ideas and create win-wins. Win-wins. That's what they've been missing this entire time. Okay. 40% of the way through. Here we are. Lean into parks. massive investment capacity. They could. This is. I don't even know if this is data about Disney here or if this is data about the entire market because this is not labeled.
Iger called back, actually. He's saying
Yes.
we need more specificity. So if you have anything to give him, I'll send it.
I suspect that he does not want any specificity at all. But I'm going to say I don't believe. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I started getting into specifics here. In
Perfect.
October 21, Disney launched Genie.
Wow.
Okay. That's very helpful.
More logos.
And consumer
More
products
logos.
provide an extra window for monetizing characters and story IP with technology as a positive tailwind. Again, how is this not a draft here? This looks like bullet points that you expand on later. Yes, we all know that the parks are served by, you know who said this better? When he talked about the flywheel, Nelson Peltz talks about the consumer products flywheel that is served by creation of IP. Sometimes that's a refreshment of the IP. It goes into the parks or it goes into consumer products and puts it in front of the customers. And with DTC, as in streaming services, have another avenue for that to go. I mean, I could articulate this better than him here. Then parks and consumer products provide an extra window for monetizing characters and story. Also, if this is supposed to be an ellipsis, this second bullet point does not flow here. Parks and consumer products provide with technology as a positive tailwind. This is one really bad sentence split into 3 bullet points.
Okay. It is astounding. This is great. I mean, this is
current DTC video value chain. Volume of DTC options create consumer confusion and requires each content owner to compete on every vector of differentiation. Okay. What is the point of this here? Disney is stronger because they have these 3 things together. Yes, I'll say that. Having 3 streaming services and not one is better for Disney because then they can bundle it together to reduce churn. But that's not what you're articulating here. Also, this is in danger because the Disney brands right now are suffering because of a lack of quality. So latest hit show, okay. This is juvenile stuff. If I try to explain how streaming services work in a basic business class, like a freshman level business class, and I brought in this slide, I better be doing a lot of talking because this slide on its own is not passing muster. Us versus them. This one I actually think reveals a lot, but not in the way that they want it to. This is them breaking down the individual profit centers of these different aspects of the media landscape. Walt Disney Company made $0 billion in streaming profits, but Netflix made $10 billion in streaming profits. That must mean that Netflix is the villain. Oh, look, and they have a common competitor. That Netflix is making too much money and Disney's not making enough. Well, guess what? Disney made negative dollars trying to compete with Netflix here. Yes. Hulu was making money. The Walt Disney Company made negative $14 billion here. They've spent $14 billion trying to build Disney Plus. This is not a case for streaming right now because otherwise Disney would be leaning into streaming as opposed to stripping streaming of its content and reducing the marketing spend and killing Disney Plus in order to quote unquote say that it's profitable. If you want to see a great case for how Disney needs to fix streaming, you should go look at what Nelson Peltz is saying.
Yeah,
Vash, I'm over talking here. Please help me here to understand why Netflix has nothing, but is making too much money, and Disney has everything and is not making enough money.
Well, I thought over-earning was all the rage here. Look, I mean, you know, Disney just doesn't have. I mean, we've talked about it before, but it's the content, stupid. It's you know, it's what is the necessarily the where's the demand coming from in terms of the quality of your shows, in terms of product that people actually want to watch? That's the thing. Where's the incentivization there for Netflix? You know, it's just a robust content platform and library where they seem to, you know, put out hit shows almost every week, and it gets huge social media shares, likes, and views and so forth. And that's that's how you prevent churn. And that's how you create those big profits right there. In fact, their product is so in demand that they can do something like, password protection or end password sharing, because people can't go without Netflix. So it's like, okay, well, if it's not one Netflix between 5 people, then fine. Those maybe 4 people, 3 people will get their own Netflix subscriptions. And there you go. That contributes to that profit margin right there. And I believe Nelson Peltz in his 133 pages was pretty specific about some of this stuff. And it's honestly it's elementary at this point.
I would agree, and this idea that Netflix does not have tentpole franchises is ridiculous. I mean, Stranger Things, The Witcher, Bridgerton. They're you can go on here. There's no reason to go on, but they are a company that is actually competing pretty well in the content space, and they're lucky. Disney and Warner Brothers and NBC Universal and Paramount are lucky that Netflix is not trying to compete in the same way that everyone else is, because if they started putting their stuff in theaters, then I think Disney would have a much bigger problem on their hands. Extraction, there's no reason that Extraction shouldn't have been released into theaters. Or Gray Man. Gray Man is better than anything that Disney has released within the last year, I would say. This is silliness, and this is very shallow, I want to prove my point kind of thinking. By the way, sports and news, you better watch out for that with Netflix as well. Creative friendly, I'm hearing a lot more from Netflix on creative friendly here. Also, the Walt Disney Company, Bob Iger just indicated that he watches films 5 times. Not the head of the studio. And when I say the studio, I'm talking about Lucasfilm or Pixar or Walt Disney Animation as a studio, or Sean Bailey, who was in charge of the Disney live action remakes. I'm not talking about him watching the movies 5 times, or the person above them. That would be Alan Bergman or Dana Walden watching it 5 times, or the people on the board watching it 5 times because they just want to know what's coming out. We're talking about Bob Iger. We have 3 levels of unnecessary here doing notes on these films, and I'm beginning to see an issue with why. I think Walt Disney as a company might be better served by being a little less creative friendly, if that is what friendly looks like. Key lessons from ValueAct's portfolio here. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's a good point, because we have heard varying reports about how creative friendly they are.
Right, and I would say that the form in which the Marvels came to theaters, I would say that was an incomplete film, and I can only put that to them literally cutting large portions of that film out in a Black Cauldron sort of way. And key lessons from ValueAct's portfolio. They had to be talking above this, and I don't know why they filed this with the SEC. At this point, I'm assuming that ValueAct came in and threw a presentation at Disney, and somebody smiled and told them that they were doing a good job. Microsoft 365, New York Times, and Spotify, they're doing bundling. That's the entire thing here. You're, instead of paying once for Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Word, you're paying a monthly subscription for these things, which is kind of anti-consumer. They also do this at Adobe Creative Cloud as well. I would rather have paid one time for Photoshop or Adobe Premiere, but instead I have to pay them a little bit every single month. See here, New York Times bundle drives engagement. Yes, it does. It's good for New York Times to be piecemealing things out and then bundling them together. Oh, here's another one. What has happened? Oh, look at this. They've done such a good job. They've announced $60 billion in parks investment. Again, we need some specificity. These 2 board members, Jeremy Darish and James Gorman. Yes, that's a good thing for them to be added to the company. ValueAct, we need some specificity on what you're actually bringing to the table here, other than telling them to bundle things. They could have figured that out on their own. I'm not seeing much information here, or the fact that this JV. I wonder if this JV came from ValueAct themselves. So the idea is, hey, let's do cable again. So why do they commit their votes to the board and leadership? We have a thesis. I will remind you all that thesis is lean into parks, better add technology, do good things, have win-wins. That is not a thesis. That is a draft statement, and you have yet to come up with a thesis.
Yes.
We have a positive collaboration, lots of learning and teaching well underway. Okay, sure. We have tangible evidence of progress. Citation needed. That's all I have to say for that. Guys, this is embarrassing. Again, if I turned this in business school, they would have sent it back to me and marked it incomplete. This is not a business thesis. I hope that you're saying literal things in these conversations with board members that are much more clear than whatever this slide deck is. This is not a white paper. This is a bad PowerPoint presentation. So please tell me that you have more than this, ValueAct, because this is embarrassing.
This is atrocious, and maybe that's why the Hollywood Reporter was not so keen on providing a link to this thing, because it is very bad, even if you're not a businessman or focused in any way. No detail, no specificity at all right there. I mean, as opposed to the amazing white paper that Nelson Peltz and Treon put together right here.
Keep talking while I scroll through.
Oh, yes, thing. Absolutely. The fact that, you have just lone bullet points and no detail or specificity, just some kid school grade graphs and so forth, and lack of quotes, lack of any specificity whatsoever. You can see right here scrolling in front of you right now for the viewers watching at home. This is how you put together a presentation right here. This is how you sell your ideas, or even provide advice, which
we're only halfway. We're not even halfway through, guys.
Yes.
Seriously.
Even Bob Iger was taken by this, as he was quoting from this in his own way when he was at that Morgan Stanley conference right there. So I don't know. I mean, I've heard ValueAct. Oh, this is great. This is a great association, but we simply have not seen the fruits of this. And if this is the case that they're making, that they are some kind of a firm that's really going to turn the Walt Disney Company around, we're in trouble.
Yes, I agree. I'm going to stop here on page 88 and switch over here and say, like this video if you like this video. Leave a comment down below if you have anything that you would like to add to this. If you want to defend this little travesty of a refrigerator drawing that is presenting itself as a white paper, go ahead. That's fine. Of course, consider subscribing here. Oh, by the way, here I'll throw this one of my favorite quotes. In God we trust. All others bring data. And consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.